Tonight we're going to introduce a game called Spelt. It's a word game. If you've ever played Scrabble or word jumbles or even a crossword puzzle, you'll love this. It is faster than any of those I've mentioned, and it is more challenging than most of them. Now, how can you be faster and more challenging at the same time? That's what we're about to find out. The game consists of simply a 5x5, 25 space grid. You can make one of these yourself. In fact, you should before this show is over, so that we can play together. The grid plus 10 dice. The 10 dice have, of course, 60 sides, 6 sides to a die, and they each have letters on every side. The distribution of letters is such that with experimentation we've been doing over the past few months, we think we've got the best combination that 10 dice can offer with regard to being able to make words out of the 10 dice. In fact, the word distribution itself, which you can see on the screen, will show that how many of each letter are available and how many letters are absent. We've left out, for purposes of efficiency here, the Z's and the V's, and well, there are 7 letters left out. You could check. It's K and Q and J and V, but check for yourself. And many of the letters have multiples, as in T's and R's and S's, where there are 4 of a kind. And we find this combination offers the best possibility of being able to form words. The words can be formed on the grid in any of a number of directions. You can form words horizontally, of course, but not only left to right, but right to left. The words must be at least 3 and not more than 5, since you can't go in a straight line farther than 5. So there are 3, 4, and 5 letter words to be formed for scoring purposes. They can be made horizontally from left to right or right to left. They can be formed vertically in an upward direction or a downward direction. Now, if you consider that there are 5 horizontal rows and 5 vertical columns, and you can go in either direction, that's 20 different directions that a word can be formed. The words, of course, have to be in straight lines. I shouldn't say of course, but the words do have to be in straight lines. And in addition, there's one more possibility. You can form words along the long diagonal, either down or up. There's 5 spaces across the middle of the grid. So there are 24 different directions that a word can be formed. Now, what I want to do to demonstrate both, well, especially the fast part, if not the challenging part might not be as obvious, we'll see. I'm going to put the 10 dice back in the bag. And what I'm going to do is take 5 of the dice randomly, no peeking, shake them up a little bit, lower 5 of them into my hand. I'm going to roll them. And whatever the 5 dice show, and I'll try to set them up so you can see them yourself very easily. There's a T, an E, 2 E's, a C, a D, and a T. C, D, T, E, E. So I am going to enter these 5 dice, these 5 letters, and I'm going to put the T here, and I'm going to put an E there, and an E there, and a D there. I'm gambling a little bit. I'm gambling that a W will show up sometimes, and then I'm going to have weed there. The letter that I haven't used is the letter C. I'm going to put the C next to the T because I know there are many English words that end in CT. Erect and act and tact and fact and all of that. So I've got those first 5 in place, and only after the first 5 are in place, the way the game is played, those 5 are set aside, and the other 5 of the 10 dice that we started with are about to roll. And those 5 will then be put in their own spots on the grid. And these 5 come out with a G, an I, a P, an L, and an I. Uh-oh. Let's see what I can do with this. I'm going to put a P here, and I'm going to put an L here, and I'm going to put a G here. So I've got the PLG, and I've got two I's that I've got to place. And I'm going to put the I next to G, hoping that there's a letter that would fill in the GI blank E space. And I'm going to put a D, the other I here. I'll take all 10 dice and put them back in the bag for the third throw of 5 dice. And the third throw will force me to put 5 more dice, 5 more letters into the grid. And let's see, do I have 5? I've got too many. Take the third 5. Out it goes, and I have a P and another G. The G showed up twice. That's a surprise. And 2 A's. Well, I'm going to take one of the A's and put it here, and I've got a pact, P-A-C-T. So I do have a 4-letter word in the bag, as one would say. But in addition to having P-A-C-T, I have the possibility of making C-A-P-E or C-A-P-S, because words can go either left or right on the horizontal. I'm going to put the G in front of the L, because there are some words that start with GL, and I'm going to put an A there. I'm going to put a D here, and if I get an E, I'll put it there for Glade, but that'll interfere with my Tweed, but I'll take whichever one shows up. And lastly, I have a P to place, and I have no idea where that goes, but I'll do, I'll put it here. DIP, oh, I'm not sure I did the right thing. Well, I may have just wasted a move, but that's the way it goes. I'm now going for the 4th roll, and I'm still working on the possibility of coming up with 3 and 4 and 5-letter words, but time is running out. I have a T, an R, an I, and 2 E's. I'm going to put an R here, and I'm working here going this. Gyre looks like a word from Alice in Wonderland, so I don't think we could use it, except in Alice in Wonderland it's a G-Y-R-E, I'm pretty sure. So I use the R, G-R-E-L, G-R-I-L. I'll put the I in the middle. And what I'm hoping for is another L to go up here. I have a T and 2 E's yet to fill in. I'm going to put an E here, and I'm going to put an E there. That's giving me a gel, which is a simple, and leg, which are 2 3-letter words. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, there's one I didn't use. I've used the I used the R, I used an E, I used another E. I haven't used the T yet. I still have to use the T, and I think I'll put it here, which gives me a 3-letter word, T-I-E. I have 5 blanks left to fill, and I have very little option with regard to what I do there. I just have to put the 5 that come up next into the spaces that are available, but I'll try my best to get a few points out of it along the way. Whoops. So here are the last 5. And they come up with an M. Lots of E's in this game. M-E-E-D-L. I got lucky on the L because I can put the L up here, and that completes a 5-letter word. It also has other words in here you might recognize. Rill as a small stream, and I-L-L as I don't feel so good. Oh, I feel fine, but I'm just pointing out a word for you. M-E-E-D. Where do I put them in order to make something? Well, one of the E's goes here, and I'm going to get Glade out of that. And MED, which one gives me any hope to get any letters out of this? Let's see, do I get any more? GEM. GEM is gem. And the D I have nothing to do with except place it there. I've now completed the grid in, I'm not sure how long it took me, maybe 5 minutes, more or less. So it is quick. This could be a complete game if the people involved want to play it that way. Or it could be one game in a series where you try to get up to, say, 100 points or 200 points or something of the sort. Now we're ready to calculate the score for the filled-in grid. I start with the horizontal lines. This is the way I do it anyway. You can start anywhere you'd like. And I'll go through each horizontal line and see how many words are available and what the point total is. And then we'll go to vertical, and then we'll go to the diagonals. Looking at the first horizontal line, I see the word PACT, pact, which is a three-letter word, a three-point word. The word ACT is contained in it, but that's also a three-letter word that we can count for 4. And in fact, CAP in the other direction is a three-letter word for 1 more point, so the total for that line is 5 points. Line 2, glade, as in, I think, an open space in a field. Glade is a 5-letter word for 5 points. ADE is contained within it, so that's another 1 point, so it's a total of 6. Let's see. Anything else? EDA, ALG, DAL. Oh, LAD, LAD, is another 3-letter word. So a 5 and 2 3s give us a total of 7 points for that line. Next line has very little on it except the word TIE, as in tie. 1 point. Line 4 has the word ire, I-R-E, as in anger. I-R-E. It also has the word R-I-G, which is referred that 8-wheelers or 10-wheelers, big rigs or transport trucks, sometimes referred to that way, in addition to rigging a game. So that's two 3-letter words for 2 points. And in the last line we have DIP, 1 3-letter word. And I think maybe epi is a prefix. That's about all I see there. So 1 point for a 3-letter word. Now let's try the verticals, looking this way. The vertical here is GEM for gem. Meg is a girl's name, but we're not using proper names, not allowing that. And I think that's just 1 point for that one. PLEGE. Ooh, wait a minute. Do I have a word there? Let me see. I didn't plan this, but it almost looks like, no, pledge would have a D in the middle of it. It'd be 6 letters anyway. So leg is there and gel is there. The gel you get in the hairdressing salon or the barber shop, and leg. And I think that's all. 2 3-letter words for 2 points. PIIA, I don't see any there. TRI, I don't see any there. And over here it was going to be tweed, but it didn't make it, so it's just TEE, 1 3-letter word. That's all there are. Now, the diagonals include this word going from here to there, this lower right corner to the upper left corner. DRILL is a 5-letter word, obviously. RILL is a small brook, running stream, which is a 4-letter word for 3 more points. That'd be 8. ILL, ill, would make the total 9, and I think that's all there are there. So I mark it this way. I go that way and mark that 9 is associated with that. And in the other direction, the other diagonal, the only thing I see is a DIG, which is a 3-letter word for 1 point. So the total for this grid is 9 plus 5, 14 plus 7 is 21, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30. 30 is my total. Now the grid I just completed was done very quickly. I wanted to show you that it can be done quickly, but there's no need for you to go as quickly if you want to do a grid along with me. So we can both do one at the same time. First, you'll need a grid to work with, and you can make a grid very simply on any scrap of paper, the back of any sheet of paper you're using, with 6 vertical lines and 6 horizontal lines, more or less straight. That would be good. And you'll have the 25 space 5x5 grid available to you. And what I'll do then is roll the first roll of 5 dice, and you'll be able to stop the video if you need it in order to give yourself time to decide what to do with the letters that show up. Here is roll number 1. I have an M, A, N, E, L. And pause now. So they're paused. Oh, I shouldn't have said that.
That's fine. That's fine.
What I'll do is I'm going to use these letters to to write L, A, N, E, and leave room for a possible S in this corner. I still have to put an M in place. The M I'm going to put, I'm going to put the M here. I'm gambling a little that I can fill in these 3 going all the way back to the L in that diagonal. Whoops. I want those 5. Take the other 5 for the second roll. Now that the first 5 are in place, I'm ready for the second roll. The second roll gives us the TEOII, and the bet I made about trying to fill in the blank looks like it's worked out. If I put the O there, and the T there, and the E there, let me write them in. I have a motel, 5-letter word, which also has a couple of shorter words that also can be used for, but now I've got 2 I's to cope with. And the I's I'm going to put is, I'm going to put one I here, and the other I here, looking to fill in with some other letters if they show up for me. And now we have 10 letters in, with a third roll coming. And roll number 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Roll number 3 gives us a W, an N, a T, and an S. And you may pause now to give yourself time to figure out where to put these. Gives me time too. So I'm going to put my S here to make that a 5-letter word. I'm going to put the W here. Take these 3 letters with an opportunity of making it a 4-letter word there. 2 T's and an N. Wow. Let's see. N there, and T there. So far I've got lint, and I have another T to use, and I'm going to put the T here. And I'm looking for an L for there, if possible. 10 blanks left to go. Roll 4. 3 E's in this one. B-E-E-S-E. My goodness. Pause. Pause the video. Now that you've got the fourth set of dice, fourth set of 5 in place, let's see. I would like to do, wow, all those E's. All right, let's put an E there, which is net and 10. Move that out of the way. Put an E here, trying to build this way on this diagonal. S-E-T, S-E-T, S-E-T. I'll put a B here. Oh, I don't want to do that. It'll mess me up. Let's put a B. I'll put the B here, and the S here, and one more E. T-E-N and N-E-T again. 5 blanks to go before we can score it. I have a possibility with the O-S-E to fill in with hose or nose or pose. T blank blank S is a possibility. Lint, lint. Well, let's see what happens. 5 to go. This is the last one now. And sometimes it's very disappointing because you just have to put them where the blanks are. And you're winding up with an H and a U and an A and an E and a T. And I'm not sure it's much help to any of us, but look around to see if you can find any place at all that you might be able to pick up another 3 or 4 letter word. In my case, if I take the T and the U and put them here, no, wait a minute, I didn't think, oh no, I don't want the T and the U, I want the H and the U. I have S-H-U-T and hut forming here. Now I've got a T-E-A to go. Toss, no. S-O-T, S-O-T would work. E, B, T, E, T, what? W-E-T here. And just an A to place. I have nothing to do with it except put it in the only blank that's left. And I've completed my 25 square grid. Next thing to do is to go about calculating our points. As soon as you're finished with your grid, we can do that at the same time. But of course, your grid and my grid are not the same. So proceed and calculate your points. You may start horizontally or vertically, it makes no difference. But go one line at a time and see how many 3 or 4 or 5 letter words you have. In this first vertical line, I've got W-E-T as wet. I also have M-A-W, maw, M-A-W. What you'll find in the dictionary, it's a reference to the open mouth of an animal, is sometimes referred to as a maw. I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to count it. And if it turns out not to be so, then check on my website and let me know that I've taken a word that doesn't belong there. Let's see, what else? I've got wet and maw. Wham doesn't work. E-W-A, no, I just have 2 3-letter words for 2 points. Bio is short for biology, but that doesn't work. And biota, it's not there. And I don't think I have any words in the second vertical line. Third vertical line, I have N-E-T-S, nets, for 3. I also have the word net, N-E-T, for 1 more, and the word 10 for 1 more. It's a grand total of 5 in that vertical line. This vertical line, I'm not going to take he as in he. It might be in the dictionary and it might be acceptable, but that's stooping too low to take that as a word. So I'll let it pass. In my last vertical line, I have the word lanes, L-A-N-E-S, 5 letters, of course, 5 points. In addition, I have lane, L-A-N-E, so that's 8 altogether. And do I have anything else? S-E-N, Sena, Senel, Len? I don't think so. I think I have a 5 and a 4 for 8 points. Now horizontally, starting from the bottom, S-H-U-T, 4-letter word, H-U-T, 3-letter word, so that's a grand total of 4 for that horizontal line. A-O-S-E-E, S-E-E is a single point for a 3-letter word. W-I-T, wit. With your wit and wisdom, you can see that I have a W-I-T, and I also have a T-E-N and also an N-E-T. So this line has 3 different 3-letter words, each worth 1 point. And this has simply a B, B-E-E, as in Bumble, for 1. And up here, lint, L-I-N-T, 4-letter word for 3. Nil is, when you watch the international soccer matches, they don't say nothing or 0, they say 1-0. So is that, well, it's more English than our English, I suppose. So I'm going to count NIL as a 3-letter word, in addition to the lint, L-I-N-T, the 4-letter word, and that's a total of 4. Are there anything in the diagonals? Let's see. S-E-T, 1 3-letter word in this diagonal for 1 point. And here I have a 5-letter word, motel. A 5-letter word for 5. M-O-T-E is also a word. That's a 4-letter word. It's not the moat that surrounds a castle. It is the moat that's in your opponent's eye while you have a beam in your own. If you've read this in the Bible at one occasion or another, how is it you can see a tiny little blemish in the eye of your opponent, but you can't see a very large piece of wood in your own eye? Anyway, that's what moat is. That's a 5 and a 4. That's 8 points. And let, L-E-T, is a 3-letter word for 9. Now, Tom could be used because a male turkey and a male cat are referred to as Toms, so that works out okay. So I've got a 5, a 4, and 2, 3, a 5, a 3, and 2, 2. That's 10 altogether for that. So my total for all of my possibilities comes out to be 5 and 5 and 3 on this side. That's 13. 10 makes 23. 8 and 2 makes 33. 5 and 1 makes 39. So this particular game, I was able to come up with 39 points, and each of you out there doing your own game have come up with a different number, no doubt. It's unlikely that it would be the same, and I hope you did at least as well, because 39 is a pretty good score for our game. Now that you've had the experience of playing one time, or maybe two if you tried the first one with me, my first demonstration, you might have a little better idea of how to proceed. In fact, every time you play the game, you learn a couple of little tricks, or you get an idea of how you might do things a little differently. So we'll play one game, we'll play this game together. After you've made yourself one more grid, you can pause the video now to make a grid. And now we'll have the first roll. And what we have is an S, an R, an S, an O, and an E.
Can you move that E a little bit more to the left?
And you can pause the grid, pause your video now for as much time as you need to get these in place. I think what I'll do is put the S here, O, R, E, S, R, O, E, and I'm betting that I can come up with either a T, a C, or an H, all of which will make a 5-letter word there. And S, I think I'll put it in this corner. See if I can get something going in that direction. Roll number 2. Whoops, there's one more in here. Don't want to leave any behind. Second roll is UAYNN. A little difficult to see how we can work those, so pause the video so you have a chance to place those the way you'd like them. Now my positioning here is I think I will use, no, I think I'm not going to put anything in there yet. I want to hold out for a better score. So I'm going to put the A here and the Y there. Move those out of position. And I'm going to put the U here and one of the N's there. I have sun. I could have used the Y and made sunny down here, but I've already put it in. I'm not going to change it. I can't do that now. And so I have an N to dispose of here, and let's see. I'm going to put the N here. So I now have 10 letters in place. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And after the second roll, we put all the dice back in the bag. Mix them up a bit. And we'll take 5 out for our roll number 4. I hope yours is going well. And here's the 4th roll. Wow, no vowels at all this time, unfortunately. 2 N's again, and a T, an H, and an L. So it's N, T, H, N, L. Pause the video, give yourself a chance to fill those in. And let's see where I will place these on my own. Let's see. Oh boy. A little bit of, I put my L here, which is a space I left open for that. So I've got a 4-letter word there. But now I have 2 N's and a T and an H. Let's see. The T I'll put here. The N I'll put here. One of the N's I'll put here. And I hope I can get an E on the next roll to get stone. Oh, I messed up again. I could have put my T here to get store, which is what I was looking for, and I went too fast and lost the chance.
You haven't actually placed your H yet. You moved it, but it's not on your board.
No, I meant it's a, oh, I see. I've moved both ends already, there and there, and the
No.
T and the,
You already had the no. There's only 13 letters on the board. You have an N and an H still to place.
the H can go here. I'll be darned. You know, I don't think I'm going to do that. I haven't placed it yet. I'm gambling a little because shore is a perfectly good 5-letter word, but that's all you get is the 5 and these 3 here. If I could get a T or a C in there, well, a T or a P, no, that spore, yeah, that would be good. I'm gambling a little. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, N and H. I'll put H here and N there. So I'm looking for shun as a possibility. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Roll number 4 coming up. I hope this is adding up properly. 5, 8, 10, 15, yes. Here is the 4th roll. I got a T to put in the place I want. A T and 4 vowels. That may be good news or not, depending on what you have so far.
Move the E a little more to your left. Thank you.
An A, a T, an E, an I, and an E. Pause the video, take your time, see what you can do to supplement the words you had already. And what I'm going to do is take that T and put it here, so my diagonal 5-letter word is store, because the T gives me tor and rot and rots, so I've got multiple possibilities on that with that combination. Now what I do with the 2 E's, an I, and an A, let's see. S-H-I-N for shin, a 4-letter word this way, an A and 2 E's. I'm going to put an A here and an E there. I don't know if you're familiar with the word T-A-R-E, tear. It has to do with when you're weighing something in a balance beam in your chemistry class. You have to account for the weight of the piece of filter paper you use on which you place the crystals or the powder that you're measuring the volume of or the weight of. And that's referred to as the tear. I'm not sure I'm defining it precisely enough, but T-A-R-E accounts for the extra weight you're adding that has to be subtracted. When you take things to the dump, they weigh your car and the material you're going to leave at the dump when you go walk in, at least in my dump in my town. And then when you're coming back out, they weigh the car again. And the car has been teared in the sense of what the difference in weight between the two is the amount of material you've dumped left in the dump. I still have an E to account for. Hold on. I'm going to put it here. which gives me a 10 and a net and maybe the possibility of an extra letter here. And we're down to the last 5 blanks that are available. We gather up the dice, put them back in the bag, mix them gently, and hope for the best. The last roll, and sometimes it's frustrating and sometimes it's delightful that you wind up with exactly the letter you like, but we have to put the last 5 letters in the last 5 spaces, no alternatives. And the last 5 letters are a T, an N, a G, another N, and an E. Those are the 5. Pause the video, give yourself as much time as you'd like, and let's see how I would have handled the end of this. What I'm going to do is take the T-E-N and add a T there to make it a 4-letter word in addition to the 3 that's there. And then S-T-O-N-O. I almost overlooked something. I'm going to put an E in this corner to finish the 5-letter word there, stone. Now I have 2 N's and a G, and the G, if it goes I'm going to put the G here, and I don't know if I'd get away with this one. You'd challenge me maybe, but I'm going to use the word nog as a reference to the drink eggnog that we have at Christmas time. And I think the nog by itself would be valid, but if I get challenged, we'll look it up in the dictionary to be sure. And in addition to that, I have 2 N's, and I don't think I can get anything out of either one of those, so I'll just place them in the 2 blanks that are left. And now we're ready to add up our scores. And I was lucky enough to actually get both diagonals with 5-letter words, and they happen to be 5-letter words that have 3 and 4-letter words included within them. So that's going to boost my score. Let's start with the diagonals. S-T-O-N-E, a 5-letter word for 5 points. T-O-N-E, tone, a 3-letter word, a 4-letter word for 3 points. That's 8 so far. I'll put a 5 there for the first one. I'll put a 3 for the tone. The word N-O-T is a 3-letter word for 1 point. The word T-O-N is a 3-letter word for 1 point. The word O-N-E is a 3-letter word for 1 more. And I wonder if I can use knots, N-O-T-S. Let me think. That's kind of stretching it a little bit. It's not a knot like in a tree, because that would be a K-N-O-T. The do's and don'ts, the no's and not, no, I'll leave the knots out of this. So for this one diagonal, I have 5 and 3 and 3, or 11 points. That's for that one diagonal. The diagonal in the other direction, S-T-O-R-E, is 5. T-O-R-E is 3, tor. R-O-T-S, rots, is another 4-letter word for 3 points. R-O-T by itself is 3 letters. O-R-E is 3 letters for 1 point. And T-O-R, that may be one you're not familiar with, but I believe it refers to a mountaintop or a peak of a mountain. And again, you can challenge me on that when we both look it up later on. I should have my dictionary here, but I believe that's a pretty good 3-letter word by itself. That means that diagonal by itself was worth 3, 6, 9, 5, 14 points for that diagonal. Now I'm going to start with the verticals. I have S-U-N, 1 point. This vertical column here is a T-E-N-T, that's a three-letter word. T-E-N is a, I'm sorry, T-E-N-T is a three-point word, it's a four-letter word. T-E-N, three letters, 1 point, and N-E-T, three letters, 1 point. So that's a 3, a 1, and a 1, or 5. This is what I was saying before, that I was going to try to get away with this one, and somebody might want to challenge my using a word like nog, and I'm using it in place of eggnog. That might be challengeable. We might have to throw it out. The fourth vertical column, T-A-R, three letters for 1 point, R-A-T, three letters for 1 point, and T-A-R-E, a four-letter word, and A-R-E, a three-letter word. So it was a 3 and 3 ones, a total of 6, if I counted correctly. T-A-R, R-A-T, A-R-E, and tear. And in the fifth column, S-L-A-Y, four-letter word, L-A-Y, a three-letter word, 4 points. And now we have the horizontals yet to go. Now, N-E-E, do you remember where you saw that word last? N-E-E. If you look at any bridal announcement, they indicate, it's a French word originally, but it's used in our newspapers all the time. It's indicating birth name. So Joan Nee Smith or whatever indicates that her single name was Smith and her married name is going to be Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. So NEE is a three-letter word for 1 point. It almost looks angry here, but I didn't quite make it. NNGRI doesn't quite make it. NEOAA, not much help there. Nothing there. These are zeros. And SHIN is a four-letter word, shin. Or shins is a, I guess that does work, doesn't it? I almost missed that. Shins and shin are a 5 and a 3, or a grand total of 8 points on that line. Now I spent a lot of effort trying to get these diagonals in, and they served me well. But as soon as you decide to make a word in any direction on the whole, it messes up the possibility of doing something in the other direction. So it's not a simple matter to make things work both vertically and horizontally and diagonally to get everything to mesh. Even if you had all 25 letters laid out in front of you before you started putting any in, you'd find, and that's something you could try if you'd like to, but you'd find that you still run into problems that every time you make a word, you're interfering with the possibility of making one in another direction. So I was very lucky here with those two diagonals. The total is 14, 24, 30, 41, 42, 50 even. I'm going to give myself a ribbon for that one. I don't usually get a score that high, but of course the letters help. I hope you've enjoyed the games of Spelt we got to play together. But I would like to add one more point. When my grandkids want to play with us, I have a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old, we sometimes alter the rules a little bit, but the point I want to make particularly is this. What can be done in a game with the kids is to increase the chances of their getting the most out of the game as possible, as far as building their vocabulary and learning their spelling a little better. We have them at the end of the game exchange their completed grids with each other. And when they exchange their completed grids, they evaluate each other's grids and see words that they didn't think of. In fact, they may see words that they doubt are words. And then they can challenge each other. So by challenging, what they're doing is saying, I don't think that's a word or it's not spelled correctly. Then we have to look it up in the official word source, whatever that official word source is that we decided on before the game started. And it's usually a dictionary. And so what the kids get to do is look things up, check as to whether the word is or isn't correct. They learn, in this case, either that it is a word and they add that to their vocabulary, or they learn that it isn't a word and they remove it from their vocabulary. And of course they can see the spelling. If they can find it in the dictionary, they have learned they've seen what the proper spelling is. So I think that with kids who are still with whom we're trying to develop some improvement in vocabulary or spelling, the exchange at the end of the game and the challenging of each other's words, if they need to be challenged, would be an element that should be added. I want to thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have fun with the game of Spelt.